Hello everyone, my name's Andrew Fritz. Welcome back to another episode of the Language of Spirit show. Today we have another special guest with us today. He actually has taken the meditation series and the year-long men's clairvoyant training that I taught. He just recently actually graduated from that training at the end of last year. So congratulations and welcome, Bailey.
Oh, thank you.
Awesome. So how you doing today?
I'm doing really well. We had that class last night on
Hmm.
being your own boss, and
Hmm.
uh, it has definitely opened up a lot of creativity, like you said it would.
Sweet. Are you feeling like a boss today?
I'm feeling more in control of myself. Yes.
Oh, that's good. All right. Well, the first kind of question I like to open it up with is, how and when did you get into spirituality?
Oh, so let's see. I think I was somewhere around 19 or 20, and I was going to church with my family, and I'm just like, this doesn't feel right. Doesn't feel like it's all there. So I start looking out, branching out, looking for other ways to see the world, to see the universe. And uh, the first thing I found was a series by, I think, a Jordan Cross, Spirit Science. Start going through a bunch
Mm,
of his videos. I'm just like, oh, okay. Like some of this makes sense. There's actual information here that I can use
mm,
to understand the world.
got it.
From there, it just kind of snowballed.
Nice, as it does, right?
Indeed.
um, so I've known you for quite a while, and I know that you've mentioned that you have experienced lucid dreams before. So for those that don't know what a lucid dream is, but I imagine most people that are listening or watching this, they probably know what a lucid dream is. It's kind of become a popular topic over the years. Basically, just a dream that you're dreaming. You're in the dream, and somehow you become lucid, and oh yeah, I'm dreaming. When did that start for you? When did that start to occur for you?
So lucid dreaming as a practice was something I kind of taught myself when I was in
Mhm.
high school, around 15 or 16,
Okay.
maybe earlier. But basically, I had lots of nightmares, night terrors, and I needed a way to rest at night.
Right.
So I began focusing on my dreams and what I wanted to accomplish in those dreams, if there was something that I needed to be focused on.
Hmm.
Other times it was just, I need to rest, so I need to have a relaxing experience.
Hmm.
And that's kind of one of the first conversations you and I had actually was on how I started lucid dreaming. So that was my experience just getting started was out of necessity. Eventually it just became less necessary, and it happens when it happens now.
Right. So, so it sounds like the lucid dreaming kind of happened before you kind of got into spirituality. Does that seem right from what you're
Yeah,
telling me?
yeah. Several years prior, I was lucid dreaming. Most of those dreams were just about relaxation and being able to control the narrative of what I was doing.
Hmm. Right. Yeah, and that can be a lot of fun.
It's quite
Yeah.
addictive.
Yeah, and that's interesting because like when I was, uh, I don't know, 18, 19, still living with my family. That's when I think I had like my first lucid dream that I can remember. But even then, like I wasn't really into spirituality then. Kind of like your like I had your situation. I back then I wasn't spiritual or anything like that. And even though I had that one lucid dream, for me, it didn't kind of take, it didn't hold. It wasn't until years later that I got into lucid dreaming, like the practice of it.
Mhm.
It was just kind of like, hey, that was a weird experience. That was kind of cool, and I just kind of just didn't do anything with it. Um, so I found that kind of interesting. But
I think it's uh, a gateway
yeah,
into spirituality for a lot of people.
hmm
Some other people that I've spoken to about spirituality, that was also their kind of stepping stone.
hmm
Uh, Even if they didn't know that they were going into spirituality at the time that we had the conversation, like they're like, yeah, I started lucid dreaming. It's real fun, just like controlling everything around me. And I'm like, so are you spiritual? Not really. A couple years later, how did you know?
yeah, I think it can do that. It's interesting because that's the thing that sometimes when you get on the spiritual topics, for some people that are very open to it, it's normal just talking about spirituality. For some people, it's a little weird because it's not logical, it's not rational. But with when it comes to lucid dreaming, um, it's been scientifically proven. So that's like I think that's where it helps certain people that like get caught up in the whoa, that's too woo woo kind of over there. Like, but okay, this is safe. It's factual or it's logical. It's been proven scientifically. Um, and it's interesting. Some people will get really into that, but they still won't go into the spiritual side. But then some people use that and they springboard into spirituality, just kind of like you were saying. So I think it kind of sometimes goes both ways depending on the individual.
Yeah, and it may also have something to do with their progression in their spiritual journey as a soul.
Right.
So, lucid dreaming maybe that kick starts something in this lifetime for them that jumps them into spirituality the next lifetime.
Right.
But it's the way that worked for me was lucid dreaming. I didn't see it as a spiritual thing. I saw it as I need to feel safe. I need to have control of myself. And then when the spirituality aspects started adding on to it, I was like, that helps because it's a layer deeper than where I was before.
Hmm.
And another and another. And then I'm taking a year long course on how to get even closer to myself.
And we'll definitely get into that. Um, so let's stick kind of with lucid dreaming for a little bit. So it sounds like you had nightmares, and it sounds like you just want to, God, I just want to have a good night's rest, or just have regular dreams, or just I don't want to, get caught up in these nightmares. As some people know that you can use lucid dreaming to stop nightmares. Is that what you found? And if so, how did that unfold for you?
So a lot of it was my waking life would kind of bleed into the dream world.
Hmm.
So felt like I was just being attacked all the time by just people either looking back spiritually or just putting me into some sort of emotional or spiritual danger.
Mm,
And so how that would translate is just nightmares, beasts hunting me down, people just treating me horribly. So the control I would have to take is finding the differences between the real world and my dreams. I have a watch. I check my watch religiously all the time. And it gets annoying to some people. Like, why are you checking the time? Are you bored? I'm like, no, I want to make sure I'm awake.
right.
Because if I'm not awake, then I can fly away and create a new world.
So it sounds like you're referring to what some people might call like state checks or reality checks. Is that
Yep.
was you're using that as one of those?
Yeah. Checking my time was the biggest one for me because, like, I look down, like, okay, I can read the time, and time is progressing in what would normally feel appropriate.
Hmm.
But then I'd look down, it's like, there's no hands on my watch. There's no numbers. It's just a bunch of squiggly lines. That's
Uh-huh.
weird. Check again. All right, I'm dreaming. And then
Yeah.
just start changing little things around me to the point where it made sense that I could control everything.
Mm, nice. Yeah, it's uh, hmm. I don't think I ever used the watch. For me, it was I've had different experiences, but the big one that worked for me was with my hands. I'd always work with my hands. So I'd always like during the day, I'd say, okay, hey, am I dreaming? And I try to ask myself that numerous times throughout the day. And then I try to take one hand and put it through the other hand, like through my like palm. Obviously, can't do that in physical life, as far as I know. But when you do that in the dream state, you can actually put your hand through your other hand, and sometimes you don't see it, but you can feel it. Or sometimes you actually see your hands and you can see it going through, and you can feel it, and it feels weird, doesn't hurt. That was kind of my experience of like, oh, okay, yeah, I'm lucid now. Like, okay, what are we doing now?
Oh yeah.
That was always a tricky point because sometimes it would you'd have some level of lucidity and some degree of control or stability and you can do stuff. And other times, I don't know if you've experienced this where even though you're kind of lucid, you get kind of out of control. Like it's just like suddenly you're flying kind of, not with control. You're just kind of flying all over the place and then
Mhm.
something pops up and you're like, what is that doing there? And you're just like, hold on a second. This is so have
Flying
you
out of control is probably one of the scariest and most fun aspects of lucid dreaming to me because I'll be like, all right, I want to start flying, but then I don't have any control over it. So I basically feel like I'm tied to a balloon, just being dragged around wherever the
yeah.
wind takes me.
Yep.
I had one dream in particular where I'm like 5 stories above the ground, barely holding on to the corner of this building because I'm like, I can't control myself. I'm just grabbing a hold of buildings, pushing myself around. But it was it was chaotically fun.
That's well put. I like that. Um, so what was the progression of your lucid dreaming? Um, for most of mine, I imagine for a lot of people, they tend to be short and sometimes can be challenging to stabilize so that you can actually do something with it. Because from what I've heard, it's like you can really do profound things. I mean, I think you can use it for just the sake of having fun, but you can also use it for more of a spiritual practice. Was there a certain point where you were able to kind of stabilize the experience where like, wow, I'm in this little more prolonged or I can do more with it?
So the timeline's a little funny for me.
That's okay.
Um, I remember when I knew that I had control, I would actually have to start my night with the intention of going into the control. So I would sit and build constructs in my mind
Mm,
while I was awake, something simple that I could just focus on until it was complete. And I'd look around and I'm like, oh, I'm actually physically grabbing things and moving them to build this construct. And I'm in a dream state now. I'm lucid, I'm dreaming, I'm here.
mm.
And then I'd let that flow. Uh, at other points in time, it would just be like, why is the sun purple?
Yeah,
So
yeah.
there's the aspect of noticing
Discrepancy.
the fictional aspects, the discrepancies, and recognizing them and just accepting that they're there, and then being able to alter and change things around you versus going into it with control.
Right. Those
And
those
those
those are different experiences, right? Like the
they
level, the clarity that you experience in those different types
they're
of dream
very
states.
different. Yeah. When you go into a dream with control, it can be a little bit more dull if you don't have the full vision of what you want going
Mm,
into it. If you know what you want to do, but then you don't have the setting or the people that you want to have these interactions with, they're going to be very flat
mm,
characters or flat environment. One dream in particular, I had finished building my construct, and I'm like, okay, I'm in my dream, and I start walking around this void space. It
mm,
was just black, like a black nothingness.
mhm,
but I could hear vehicles moving by. I could see people just in my peripheral walking around, and then the characters that I had intended to be there showed up and they were as they were meant to be.
Mm,
Conversely, it was just, I want to go explore this space. So I start walking around, but then the people I'd interact with wouldn't have a proper face,
ah,
but you could still communicate with them and understand that this is uh, a character within the dream.
mhm,
So it's all like that. But then taking control of a dream that has already been taking place
mhm,
after noticing it, you already have the dream space there. You already have the characters there. You just step into control.
mhm, right. Yeah, it sounded like what you're just saying before that was like it's almost you were um like the dream scene wasn't always fully intact. Like it was like starting to unfold why you were kind of moving into it almost. Does that sound right or
Yeah, yeah, it would be very much like that. So it's kind of like wearing glasses that have been sanded down.
Mhm.
So the environment exists, you just can't focus on any of it.
Interesting, yeah. And then this is not for happens to everybody, but I just thought I'd ask just for fun. But sometimes people that are involved with lucid dreaming, um, sometimes they end up having an out of body experience where it's, oh, this is kind of different. I'm not really in the dream state, but I seem like I'm separate from my body. That type of experience. Have you ever had that kind of experience?
I believe I have
Hmm.
just little instances where I would be, I would wake up and I'd go to speak to a friend about something that I had seen in a dream, and they're like, "You saw that in a dream?" I'm like, "Yeah, well, that was happening that same day or that same time." I'm like, "Oh, that's odd. Okay." And it never really clicked in the at the time because it wasn't. I never thought of astral projection or out of body experiences as something that could just accidentally take place.
Hmm.
But
Yeah.
drifting into the real world from your dreams is not something that I put into practice a lot,
Mhm.
but it's something that, yeah, I've had a few experiences where it does happen.
Interesting. Cool. Okay. Yeah. Some people they really get into both, and then some people it's just kind of like one or the other. And so I always like to kind of ask because they are kind of similar, but very different at the same time.
Yeah.
Um, is there a lucid dream that stands out to you that you want to share? You don't have to share it, but there's one that just comes to mind. You're like, wow, that was a really fun one, or wow, that one was really profound in some way. Any ones that you'd want to share?
Oh, I have one that's really profound, but the length of it is probably a little more than we have time for.
Okay.
The more fun one is I was I started out just flying around,
Mhm.
going through clouds and whatnot, and then I had an idea that popped into mind. I'm like, can I make my own world? And I just started simple with just a generic shape of a world where I want different ecosystems, oceans, and whatnot. I let that kind of take place, and then I start putting in like cities and people, and it just kind of went from this, can I do something, to how much of this can I actually control, and how much can I let just take place naturally within the
Mm,
dream space. Over time, that dream space became massive. I could go from one world to another, and it would just be disconnected societies that were aware of each other on different like solar systems.
mm,
I'm like, okay, this is my dream world, so whatever. It's everyone knows about each other, but it makes sense in my mind.
Mm, right. And I mean, that sounds like an awesome lucid dream experience. What was the sometimes these experiences, whether it's a like a lucid dream, could even be sometimes not even lucid, just a vivid dream or like an out of body experience. Sometimes they seem more real than like waking reality, what we perceive as waking reality. It was did you have was that in that particular experience, or other experiences where it seems like, whoa, this seems like I just jumped into the most advanced TV, and you're just like, this is cooler than what I see when I'm walking around a waking life.
Yeah. Later in my teenage years, 18, 19, I was very heavily depressed in my waking life, but then I would be able to retreat into my dreams. And it,
Mm,
like I said, it becomes addicting where you have control of the entire narrative of your life,
mm,
basically, to every aspect. Oh, I don't want to see this person, kind of fling them out of mind and they aren't in your story for the night.
mm.
Or I want to be spending time with these people and they just kind of show up. And so the waking life became just something that I had to do because I was part of being alive, is having
Yeah.
to take care of that.
Hmm.
But then I'd go to sleep and I'd take 12-hour long just sleeping dreaming sessions and basically being in control of my life. And when I realized that I might be in a bit of a problem, I start pulling away from my lucid dreaming. I start letting go of control. And for a while, I had lost control entirely,
Mm,
which is, I, in my experience, talking to other people who do lucid dream and have the ability to jump in and out of it whenever they like, it's very odd for someone to lose control of their dreams once they've taken control.
mm.
But I needed to back away from it so that I could focus on my waking life and just have more control in my real life.
Sure, sure. And I don't know, at least for me, uh, it for me it took a lot of practice. It takes a lot of focus and a lot of energy. When I got really into it, I was traveling and my stress level was very low, like the lowest probably it's ever been in my life. Um, and it was easier to like have a lot of extra time and energy just to focus on, oh, this part that I've been very unconscious to, just to remember dreams, and then to start having like vivid dreams. And um you get some, I don't know if you've had this experience experience where like if you're practicing it and you're just trying to consume your mind with this concept of conscious dreaming, you end up having these dreams where things are on the walls, or there's dream characters that are talking about dreaming or spirituality or lucid dreaming, but you don't get lucid. And then you wake up and you go, oh, what the hell? There was all these signs right there. That it's just like, and you just wake up and but that you at least know that, all right, we're getting somewhere where there's progress.
Yeah.
You're moving along to finally having the thing you're seeking. Is that something you ever encountered?
Um. Similarly,
Mm,
I would be doing something in a dream, and all of a sudden I'd hear something that didn't make sense to be happening in the dream,
mm,
and so turn I'd turn my mind to whatever that was, whether it's the sound of an alarm clock or my mother yelling at me to wake up because I have 30 minutes to get to school. And I would realize, oh, I've just spent the last 8 hours in control of a dream that I didn't even know I was having.
uh,
And then I'd almost immediately wake up because, oh, I'm late for school. Oh, that's an alarm. And my mind would focus on that because I trained it there.
I see.
So there are times where it does happen where you're just like in control and you had no idea you were in control, or there are events taking place that in hindsight have make no sense to have happened in real life.
Right. Yeah. Yep. Yeah. Yeah, they're filled with discrepancies. Um,
I think the funniest version of that was one of my earliest experiences lucid dreaming. I was, for lack of a better term, I put myself into Spider-Man's shoes. I was running up a wall from
mm,
this beast-looking thing,
mm.
gnarly and just awful. And I turn around to fight it, and all of a sudden, my mom's voice is coming from the creature. You need to wake up. And I'm like, what? What's going on here? And then the creature lunges at me, engulfs me, and I bolt up out of bed and just scream. And my mom almost had a heart attack. She's like, what the hell is that? And I'm like, I just got killed. And she, I had to calm down before I could like explain to her what was going on.
Yeah, yeah. Mom, you killed me in the dream, and you should have saw yourself.
Yeah, I think it was
Uh,
hilarious. And
yeah.
then like she's just so like now I'm looking at it like it's funny. It's
Right.
very amusing for this to have happened. And then she's just like, that was just an awful thing for you to do. I'm like, I didn't do it on purpose.
Oh, so what you were just talking about. Have you heard like false awakenings, where people, they might be dreaming, they think they wake up, they might start their day, and then they, go to flick a light switch and their hand goes through it or something like that.
Those are the worst.
Yeah, and I think there's different reasons that are the cause of this or what's actually happening. But have you had these where you wake up and you think you're starting your day, but actually, whoops, you're not?
I had gotten through an entire day's worth of school.
Ah,
And right as the last bell rings, I hear my alarm clock go off. And I'm like, that doesn't make any sense. What's that doing at school? Oh, I haven't started my day yet.
I just call in. Hey, I've already done the work. We're good here. I'm going to call out for the day. I'll
Yeah,
see you
it
tomorrow.
was like, we were doing something in school. The teachers were letting us know ahead of time that, hey, these are what we're going to be doing. So I'm like, all right, it's in my mind. This is what's going to happen that day. Get through the school day and then wake up.
Yeah.
So like, got to do it again.
Yeah, that doesn't sound fun, especially if you don't. I know I wasn't a fan of school, and so
Similarly, it's like going to work and getting through a shift
uh,
and then waking up at the end of the shift.
yeah, that's probably just as bad.
Yeah, like I don't want to be dreaming about work, but it's on my mind constantly, and that's what runs into the dream world
Right.
sometimes.
Yep. Yeah. Um. All right. Um. So I know, yeah, we probably didn't have time to talk about the more profound one. So let's kind of transition. So we met years ago in Colorado, um, and before we kind of left, I taught you a meditation series, like a basic meditation series.
Right.
Um, what was that the first time you meditated, or the first time you've tried that type of meditation? Just what was that whole experience like going through that meditation series?
So I have tried other versions of meditation before.
Mhm.
Uh, like I used the app called Headspace and it was just coming out, and some of those were pretty good. They were useful for what they were,
Mhm.
but they didn't have the same effect. They didn't have the desired effect.
Mhm.
Like one of them was for getting to sleep, and I'd listen to it 3 times in a row, and I wouldn't get to sleep. So I'm like, all right, that doesn't work.
Mhm.
But then, oh, a 5 minute check in the middle of the day. Are you present? Are you here? Like, are you stressed? Take a breath, take 5 minutes, and then go back to your day.
Mhm.
Some of them had their place. Some of them were very, we hope this works for you.
Mhm.
But then I started taking that class with you, and I could actually feel the energy around that meditation. working. And I could actually feel the difference taking place that I needed to have happen.
Mhm.
And it was very powerful just to know that I could get into meditation and I don't have to start with clear your mind, empty the space. Like, no, like be in control, don't go nowhere. Just clear the stuff and then focus on this one aspect of what you need doing.
Mhm. Yeah, I think when most people think about meditation, it's kind of you close your eyes and then you just kind of focus on your breath. And I think that's definitely a part of meditation, and I think it's useful, helpful. But there's so much more that you can do in meditation. I think that's you were just kind of seeing that in the basic meditation series. Um, for people that not sure what we're talking about, learning things like how to ground your body, or run earth and cosmic energy through your energy system, those channels and chakras in the body, and how to transform energy, and so on. Um, and then you go on to embark on a year-long men's clairvoyant training. Um, I always kind of find it fascinating. Was there anything interesting happening in your life leading up to the men's clairvoyant training? If you can't recall, it's fine, but
Not
sometimes it.
not in particular.
Mm,
I mean, I mean, I'm almost 27 years old and I'm just now realizing what I want in my life.
that's
And
okay.
uh, these are things that everyone's been telling me I need to have ready 12, 14 years ago. I'm like, I don't know what I want from life. I mean, I know I want this and this and this, but what direction am I taking? I couldn't tell you.
Mm,
But now I'm like, right as of like a month ago, I've got a direction and I know that's where I need to go and that's where I'm headed. And I don't think I would have gotten there without any of the training that I've
mm,
gotten from you.
mm. Awesome. I'm
Yeah.
glad to hear that. Yeah, because I can relate to that, because that's was similar to my experience. Like, um, I did my clairvoyant training in Chicago, early 20s. But before that, I was super lost, depressed, confused, just like I have no idea. But I knew I wanted to leave my hometown. I knew that. There was like a speck of awareness of, hey, I need to get out of here. I don't know why or where I'm going. And I had numerous attempts, and I eventually landed in Chicago. And I'm at art school, but then very quickly I find myself at a psychic school. Not something I was intending or expecting at all. But it was the kind of the best surprise that came out of that situation. Um,
And similar for me, I grew up in a small, I, for the most part, grew up in a small town. And then I end up moving away. Almost a year later, I have to move back into my family. And then I work it up to, all right, I need to get out of here again.
mm-hmm,
I end up in Colorado. And a month before I'm getting ready to find somewhere else to go, I meet you guys and changed the whole course of what I was doing. And
interesting.
since then, I'm getting closer and closer to where I need to be, where I need to be going, and I'm just letting that ride until
Hmm.
I know that I need to course correct. I'm just gonna go with the flow and
Hmm.
go where I need to go.
Awesome. Yeah. Yeah. It's the cool thing about, for those that don't know what a clairvoyant training is, clairvoyance, your ability to see energy, see colors, symbols, pictures, to see without judgment, to see your truth. The thing is, as you know, Bailey, that when you go to turn that on, sometimes you don't see your truth right away. You see all these, you got all these images, all these lies and filters kind of blocking, and you kind of weed through that. And that's a process in itself, that you go through in the training, and you continue to go on even after it. But eventually you get to a point where you can start to see more of your own truth, like, oh, this is what is true for me in this part of my life, or whatever it might be. And that's kind of the reward, is getting to that point, but it can be challenging. So with
Oh,
that
it
said,
is very challenging.
what is
Very rewarding, very challenging.
yeah, yeah. Um yeah, so what was that I know for like for when I just did an interview the other day, and this is someone that also went through a clairvoyant training, not someone that I necessarily taught, but um and we were just kind of talking about what it's like going through a clairvoyant training, because it's not a lot of people know that that even exists or what the experience of that's like. And for me at least, I'm sure definitely some people, probably a lot of people can relate to it, is that it gets messy. It's a roller coaster ride. One moment everything's great, and then you go into this growth period and you're just like, oh my god, what is going on? And all the things that you've been burying and suppressing start to kind of come to the surface that you just didn't want to, deal with. And you're kind of forced and kind of working through that stuff, so you can have the thing on the other side, which is again more of what is true for you. um, what was your roller coaster ride like?
Very much roller coaster ride.
Yeah.
It started out pretty basic. I mean, there were the there were the bumpy bits, and then there was the joy and just peace of being able to sit in my own space, sit in my own mind, and just kind of relax.
Mhm.
And then we get into deeper and deeper topics, and some of those topics are very much self-invasive.
Mhm.
I think is the best term to put it. Like, you're looking into yourself and finding bits about you that maybe you don't want to know, maybe you don't want to see.
Mhm.
But then you get past the things that you find most difficult to look at, to see, to realize, and then you're like, I needed this.
Mhm.
This is amazing. This is fantastic, because that little part of myself that I resent or I don't like is actually fantastic. And
Mhm.
then now that I understand it, I have more control of it, and it's that much more brilliant. Then you have the moments that are just awe inspiring, indescribable, where at one point I was face to face with my higher self, sitting in the core of creation, going, this is amazing. I can see everything at once. I don't want to leave. I have another hour worth of class to do.
Yeah. Yeah, so for some people, if you're listening and not sure what he's talking about there, um, it's a pretty advanced men's clairvoyant training. It's a year long, and as they get towards the end, we get to have a little fun and start to introduce kind of out of body exploration, um, where they might learn how to step out of this lifetime, um, even kind of go all the way to the center of our universe and kind of sit with source, whatever that means to you. Is that what you're kind of referring to towards the end of that
Oh
training?
yeah, oh yeah. That was
That's a
quite
journey.
an quite an intense and profound experience, just to, like I said, travel up to the center of creation, and experience it all, and then come back to your body and have no idea how to put that into words. Like, that is, just saying that is too small
Right.
for what it was.
Yeah, it's that's the tricky part when it gets to when you're exploring that deep going inwards, that yeah, there's not many words that really at that point, the whoever you're trying to talk to about it with, they just have to have the experience themselves. And
Oh, absolutely.
everyone's experiences can be different, and then they might kind of go, oh, okay, that's but it's yeah, it's you can only very few words that really kind of won't even justify it actually at all. So
Yeah, I mean, the only word that might work is nirvana, but then you have to know what nirvana means to actually experience it. So,
right. And that's the trick, is that um the stuff that you learn, that you discover in this training, especially when you kind of that advanced stuff towards the end of the training you're talking about, what do you do with that information? That you kind of have to, okay, wait, I still have a body. I still got to come back here. I still have this body life. I'm doing things here. Got to wake up, brush the teeth, go to go to work. Hopefully, didn't dream
There,
about work beforehand and go into work after.
yeah,
But
there is a knowing when doing that that it's not quite time to be here. You get to have that peek behind the curtain, but you can't stay long.
mm,
There's that knowing and that experience where you get to see behind the curtain,
right,
but
and
you have to go back.
yeah, yeah. Oh,
It's not one of those you get to go back when you're ready. No, it's like you have a limited time here. Get your peek and
yeah, there's
get back on the road.
yeah, I could just imagine you up there, and your spirit guides and angels are just forcing you to come back. They're like, no, yeah, you got to come back here and finish up some stuff.
I don't know if force is necessary because you
Yeah,
do have when you're up there. There is, like I said, the knowing, but then you have
sure,
all this other stuff that you know needs to happen. And when you realize, oh, I have this life, then you start kind of falling back into your body.
right,
It
yeah,
it kind of pulls you back down when you realize that you're not done yet.
right. I think that's and you got to explore this a little bit there. I think waking up to, hey, well, what are some of your dreams for this life? Why are you here? What's kind of your purpose? And I think that helps kind of starting to wake up. And there could be levels to that, and it's always this game of reminding yourself of these things, in meditation and however other ways, but reminding yourself, oh, wait, this is my original intent. Before this life even began, I created this life. I set this up. Why did I do this? Because sometimes you get lost in the dramas of life, and you're going, this sucks. And then sometimes you're gonna go, oh, wait a second, there's this really cool thing. There's a really awesome reason I decided to set this up. What the hell was that? And let me get back to that, because that's where probably the fun is at.
Yeah. Finding your direction through your higher self is definitely an interesting experience. Highly recommended, especially when you know that you don't know your direction at the time. So finding that through yourself is fantastic.
Mhm.
Having someone guide you through doing that, 10 times better.
Yeah, yeah, it's always nice to be guided. um, what was I think I asked you this at the end of the training. Um, what stood out to you? What was some of your favorite things that you did or experiences throughout that? I know, thinking you mentioned something about like discovering your energy and being able to like run it in the body. You want to talk about that a little bit?
Yeah, running my personal energy, uh, my own power, my own everything was just great because when you've never done it before, it just feels like fire running
Mm,
through your body, giving you energy, a new sense of life, and it makes you feel more like yourself, makes you feel a little bit more powerful within your own skin.
hmm
And I know that that's kind of the point is to get into your own skin so that you're more comfortable going back to it when you are able to leave, when you're able to get out of your own head, when you're able to get out into these higher dimensions and take a look behind the curtain.
hmm Yeah, I think the fun thing is having both the best of both worlds, right? Being able to, again, the biggest challenge I think is being able to be here and be present. I think that's the biggest challenge for a lot of people. It is challenging. Um, but learning to get grounded and kind of center yourself, know where to center yourself, um, and get to a place where, okay, things are kind of calm and quiet, and I can just kind of be here at peace. There's a sense of stillness. I don't have to really be doing anything, but I can just kind of be and have my space and be in my body. That can be pretty a unique experience in itself. But being able to have that, but also be able to, okay, I'm going to leave my body and going to go explore different levels of the astral. That's fun too. Being able to have it both. Um, yeah.
Absolutely, because when you have a little bit more of yourself pulled together, within your body, and you're able to just accept you're in your body. When you leave your body, it's not so taxing to do so because you know your body is safe, you're in a comfortable position to where you can just go out and do all of these things that you would like to do on those upper planes, higher levels.
Mhm.
And then when you come back down, it's not as jarring because you set yourself up to be in a safe place. You're not uh, being woken up by someone shaking you. You're just kind of gliding back into your body and going on with whatever's next in the day,
Right.
as opposed to a few. I think one of the first times we went uh, to the next dimension, up to the top of the next dimension, we were going up following cords and pulling some of our own energy back from
Mm.
uh, what are they? The stations. I don't remember the name of it.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Yeah, the report stations, yeah. I don't
Report stations.
the audience won't know what that means, but yeah, I know what you're
Yeah.
talking
Well,
about.
we're going up to pull some of our own energy back down to our bodies, and I was not conscious of anything that happened after my awareness left my body.
Mm,
But I knew that something was happening. I knew that what I was doing was something that had to be done.
mhm,
And when I came back to my body, it felt like I had woken up from a very deep sleep.
mm,
But I didn't have a lot of awareness as to what happened.
mhm.
I still don't remember a lot of what happened, but I know that things happened.
Right.
It's one of those half remembered dream things, but I was fully awake the whole time.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, that can um, learning to stay conscious out of the body. In the beginning, it can kind of be, "Whoa, what's going on?" Or it feels like you're kind of in a weird dream state, kind of, um, you know, going unconscious
Yeah.
a little bit. But
Yep.
the more you do it, you're able to kind of be out of the body pretty fast and remain conscious. It's a little more clear, and you can come back and go, "Yeah, I can recall all of that." I might not be able to how to explain it to someone very well, or put it into words because it's a unique experience, but I remember it all clearly.
Yeah. Well, I know that at the time of that particular class, I wasn't feeling well in my own body. I wasn't feeling safe in my own body, but I knew how to get my mind into a place where I could leave, come back, and I knew I would be okay.
Hmm.
But I think that was kind of the trigger for that not being aware is somewhere in the back of my mind, I didn't feel safe.
Mm.
I knew I was safe, but I didn't feel it. And that really locked me up in a couple of those out of body classes.
Hmm. Yeah, that can yeah, that can happen. That you can pictures, for those that again, what is this clairvoyant training all about? Is it sounds kind of strange because most people think about, oh wow, a year long of meditation. That sounds amazing. But like we said, it's a roller coaster ride. The intention, actually, part of it is that you're going to get lit up. You're going to have these um, images, memory pictures and so on, pictures that other people handed to you about life and all that. And those things that were buried will start to kind of get stirred up class by class, and there can be a lot of resistance to showing up to class and working through that. But when you get through the energy, when you're able to clear through the energy and kind of let go of these images you're holding on to, oh wait, now something feels different. And over time you do reach a point where, oh okay, actually I'm feeling a little more safe, or whatever the case might be. It could be any kind of aspect of their life. I remember when I was in, I want to say, my clairvoyant training, I remember I was in a reading, and I was the only man. I mean, I was pretty much the only guy in the whole school. There was only a couple guys. It was mostly women. But in this particular, the reading room, um, it was all women. And I remember just hitting this moment where I was like, I even said this to everybody. Um, I was like, oh, this is the first time I feel really safe in a room where I'm like surrounded by women. Excuse me. And that was kind of profound for me. I was just like, whoa, like I just didn't even realize that, I was surrounded by a lot of women, oh, why did I feel unsafe or just, off in some way? And then suddenly I'm having this realization of like, whoa, something shifted where I feel good. I feel safe. This is interesting. So I can relate to what you're saying.
Yeah.
Yeah. um, and so, now you're talking about actually one thing I want to touch upon was you mentioned acceptance. So it sounds like when you're going through this experience, maybe letting go of times that you were in judgment of yourself, or especially other people in judgment of you, and being able to peel those judgments away. That, oh wait, I can really see these different parts of myself and accept them, and just kind of comes to terms with, hey, this is me. Is that something that you were going through, or?
I had I had several moments like that. I'm still, even after the training, I'm going through my everyday life and I'll notice things where it's like, I really like that about myself.
Hmm,
Uh, but then it's one of those small things. It's like, why does no one else like this little thing about me? It's a fantastic trait. Like I can find amusement in anything. I'll look at a situation and be like, that's funny. And someone will look at me like, that kid just fell. How is that funny? I'm like, the child getting hurt is not funny. The actions that led up to that child falling over were funny. And I can separate the two events. It's not funny they got hurt. It's a little funny how they fell over.
right.
I can find that humor, that uh, lightheartedness in all these situations, and someone will look at me and go, "That doesn't make any sense. How is that funny at all?" And I have to explain it, and it loses its humor.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. I
So
understand
I
that.
like you got to be in my head to know what's going on.
Yeah. That's a good point, because that was a topic of the training, was amusement, and it was pretty early on, maybe like the second month, because it was kind of noted that, hey, it's going to take some amusement, because this is going to get serious real fast and heavy. It gets serious and heavy very quickly. So
Very, very
being able to
quickly.
work with the energy of amusement is very helpful to kind of power through these growth periods, which they don't. It's and this is something that I learned, and I'll tell people, is that the growth periods just get bigger. It's not that they get smaller or they just kind of stay around the same. It's the metaphorical climbing of a mountain. You hit the peak, and then what's off in the distance is, oh, it's another mountain, but it's taller. That's the
Oops.
direction you're
Yep.
going.
There's a lot of like ebb and flow with the
Yes.
growth periods. You go up, you hit this precipice, and then you come back down after you found some point that you've been struggling with, and then you're able to relax a little bit right in time to jump back into the next climb up. And
Yep.
it is, like you said, higher and higher peak every single time.
Right. And
And
that sounds daunting, but at the same time,
the
um,
view is amazing.
right. You secretly, under all the, oh god, I don't want to climb this thing, but there underneath all that is the excitement of like, yeah, I want to climb this thing because I know it's at top, and I know you're gonna feel, and the perspective is gonna be completely different. You're gonna
Uh,
be different experience up there.
yeah. And it can be very much likened to hiking up a mountain because you get to one peak, you get to one peak, and you're like, there's another one, and another one, and another one, and another one. But the view is better from the next one up than the one you're at.
Right.
The view is so much better of yourself, of the world, of the universe around you. It's the longer the class is with this training or any training that you can do, the better the view will be when you're finished. You just gotta
Keep chugging
take your
along.
tools and keep going.
Yeah. Yeah, that's perfect, because that's I was having a conversation there with someone, and um, sometimes really when these growth periods can get kind of gnarly, reminding yourself of, what am I growing towards? That's the trick, because it's easy to get caught up in, oh my god, this is challenging, because you're doing that inner work that it's very necessary though, kind of in your involvement. But reminding yourself, what am I growing towards? And we all have that, that reason of, hey, this is what I'm growing towards, and that's usually what sparks the fire within of, oh right, that's where I want to get to. So I'm okay, I'm going to keep doing this, I get it. And
Yeah.
sometimes just reminding yourself of that.
I was just reminded of the hike that you and Heather, and your sister took
Uh-huh.
when we were living out in Colorado. And I remembered looking up at that mountain all the time, going, "That's a really nice spot. I would like to go see the view from there."
Hmm.
But getting there, it didn't like it looked like you could just take a straight line and go up. It's not a straight line up.
No.
You got to go around the back and kind of switch back up, and that works as a good metaphor too, because you can see your goal. You know what your goal is,
Hmm.
even if it is just understanding yourself and accepting yourself a little bit more. It looks like it's right there, but then you see the trail weaving back and forth up the backside of this mountain, and you realize this is not going to be as quick as I thought it would be. But
Yep.
then you get to the top, and you appreciate the journey you were on
Yep.
all that much more.
Yeah, I agree. That's where the gratitude comes in. So awesome, Bailey. I think that's an awesome kind of stopping point. Um, so I just want to say, yeah, again, congratulations on completing that year-long training. That's not a lot of people go through something like that. It's really kind of a unique experience and kind of profound. So that's a big deal. So congratulations on that. And I appreciate you and just taking the time to come on and talk with me about these different topics. So thank you.
Absolutely, of course.
Awesome.
Thank you for having me here.
Totally. All right, everyone. This is another episode of the Language of Spirit show. Hope you enjoyed that, got something out of that, and we'll see you next time. Take care.